Hello everybody, thanks for coming. Thanks NinjaTrader for having me here for the third time actually with third webinar. Today's topic is going to be the VWAP, which stands for volume weighted average price. And what you'll learn is this. First we'll go quickly through VWAP description and through some basic logic of how to use the VWAP indicator. Then the core of the webinar will be the VWAP trading setups. Then we'll go through the VWAP settings. I'll show you my personal favorite settings which I use to trade with VWAP. So you can trade those trading setups the same way as I do. And then the last part of the webinar is going to be my favorite combination of trading indicators, which is the VWAP plus the volume profile. So before we go into all that, I'll just do a brief introduction. I know that there are probably a lot of people who know me from my website, but hopefully also some people who never heard of me. So just a brief introduction. As far as my education goes, I studied finance in university. I became a certified portfolio manager, investment manager, and I also have a financial derivative certification. I was working as a market analyst for some time in a big brokerage company, but I didn't really like that. I didn't really like working in this company for two reasons, actually. The first reason was that I didn't really like how this company treated their customers. They just wanted the money of their customers and they weren't really into making any profits for their customers. So I didn't like that approach. Also, I didn't really like having a boss telling me what to do. So I quit this company and I focused full time on trading. I was learning how to trade. It was like 12 to 15 hours every day. I started doing that around 2008. That was when the crisis started. First I started with stocks. Then I went into more complicated stuff. It was investment certificates. Then I went into automated trading systems, and for the last couple of years I've been trading mostly manually. In 2016 I founded a website, trader-dale.com, and I also developed indicators for a NinjaTrader 7 and a NinjaTrader 8. I developed volume profile indicators and also the VWAP indicator. And what I also did was that I wrote this book, which you can see on your screen, Volume Profile, The Insider's Guide to Trading. You'll get this book for free at the end of the webinar. All right, so let's get to it. Let's get to VWAP. Now, what VWAP stands for is volume weighted average price. And it is one of the most commonly used algorithms of big trading institutions. Now, the big difference between VWAP and the standard average indicator, this is the standard average indicator everybody uses. Everybody tried this one for trading when they were looking for the holy grail, right? So there is one significant difference between standard average and the VWAP indicator. And the big difference is that when you calculate the standard average, you calculate only with two variables. It is the time and the price, and that's it. The calculation only works with time and price, whereas the VWAP is weighted by volumes. So the calculation has price, time, and volume. And this is the important thing, the volume thing. This is why institutions like to use algorithm softwares to trade using VWAP, because institutions like to trade using volume-based indicators like volume profile or the VWAP. Now, let me demonstrate what the difference actually is in standard trading for normal people, right? So imagine with a standard average, for example, the price is moving upwards, so there's an uptrend, and you have the standard average indicator, and it basically follows the price. The price goes upwards, the average goes also upwards. But with the VWAP, there is a big difference, because when you trade with VWAP, then the VWAP actually looks at the volumes, and if there is big money behind the move, then the VWAP goes upwards, then it reacts. But if there are low volumes behind the move, then the move is not that significant because there's no big money behind the move, right? So if there's an uptrend and there is no big volume push behind that, then this uptrend is not really that strong, because big institutions, the big guys, aren't behind this move, right? And the VWAP is able to tell you that. Standard average is not, all right? So that's why I like to trade with a VWAP. That's why it's way better than the standard average indicator. And that's also why the institutions like trading with it. Now, how it looks like. If you look at this picture, a VWAP is basically a simple line. In my software, it is a yellow line. That's it. That's VWAP. It's pretty simple, but there's a lot more to it, and there are a lot of trading strategies you can use it for. Good thing about VWAP is that you can use it with all trading instruments. So it doesn't really matter if you are trading forex or futures or commodities. There are no limits to that. You can use VWAP for any sort of trading, and also this goes for the time frame. So no matter if you are an intraday trader, scalp trader, if you are more long-term trader, it doesn't matter. You can use the VWAP for all trading styles. It's all about just setting the VWAP right, and I'll show you that later in this webinar. All right, so let's get into the basic logic of VWAP. Now, the basic logic is this. Institutions want to buy cheap and sell expensive. Now, everybody wants to buy cheap and sell expensive, right? But this is the basic logic behind the VWAP, because this is how the institutional algorithms actually work. This is the basic logic. Institutions are looking for a buy when the price is below VWAP. So if you look at the picture, this is the VWAP. If the price is below VWAP, institutions are looking for a buy. They're looking for long trade signals. Now, if the price is moving above the VWAP, like on this picture, for example in here, then the institutions are looking for a sell. Now, why is that? The reason is that the VWAP works as a magnet. There's a lot of liquidity around the VWAP because everybody wants to trade around the VWAP. It's sort of fair value in the market. So it works as a magnet. This is an important thing to remember. VWAP always works as a magnet. So the price tends to return to it like this, all right? So that's why the basic logic behind VWAP is buy when the price is below VWAP and sell when the price is above a VWAP. Now, the trading strategies I'm going to show you are not that simple. This is basically just the basic logic, but you can also build your own trading strategies just based on this fact, based on the fact that VWAP works as a magnet and the price tends to return to it. All right, so let's move forward. Apart from the VWAP line, which is this yellow line, the indicator I developed also has standard deviations, and those are really important, at least for my way of trading. Now, if you look at the picture, then this is the VWAP, and those gray lines, this one and this one, those are first deviations of the VWAP. Now, also there is a second line in here and in here, and those are second deviations of VWAP. Now, in my trading and in the strategies which I'm going to show you today, I'm not really into using the second deviations. Some traders use them. I really don't. I prefer just to use the first deviations and also the VWAP. You can turn those on or off in the software, so no problem with that. Now, the standard deviations are more responsive than the VWAP. And for that reason, they are able to show you whether there is a trend or a rotation. Now, sometimes you can tell by just looking at the price action, right? Whether there is a trend or whether there is a rotation. But sometimes it's not that clear. And also, you have to keep in mind that VWAP and the deviations calculate with the volumes. Now, when there's a trend, you want to see volumes shifting, you want to see volumes moving. So if there's an uptrend, you want to see volumes moving upwards, right? So This is why the deviations can tell you with a pretty good accuracy whether there is a trend or a rotation. So basically it works like that. If the deviations move sideways, those gray lines, if they move sideways, then there is a rotation. If they move like vertically, then there is a trend. I'll show you some more examples. It will be way more clear. For now, just remember that the deviations show you whether there is a trend or a rotation. Now, also, maybe more importantly, deviations point to strong support and resistance zones. And that works as in a rotation as well in a trend market development. So this is pretty important in trading strategies, which I'm going to show you. Deviation works as support and resistance zones. Now, this is sort of a little recap of how to use the VWAP. Basically, you use it for three things. Use standard deviations to identify whether there is a rotation or a trend. That's the first thing. The second one, use standard deviations to identify support and resistance zones. And third, use VWAP, that's the yellow line in the middle, as a take profit. The reason for that is it works as a magnet. So remember those 3 points. You can basically build your own strategies around those. I'll show you mine, right? So VWAP setup number 1, it has a very original name, rotation setup. And it's called a rotation setup because I use it when there is a rotation. So the first thing with this setup is identify a rotation. As I said, you do that by looking at the first deviations. So you want to see deviations going sideways, first deviation. So this gray line, this is a first deviation, moves sideways. This one too. So this is a rotation, right? We identified a rotation. Now it gets real simple. You go short when the price hits this first deviation, and you go long when the price hits this deviation. This lower deviation is a support. This one is a resistance. The price is moving between those two, between this support and this resistance. So let me delete that. If you look at the picture, in here the price hit the first deviation, you go long. Again in here, another long from here. Then from this deviation, there is a short from this place, short from this place. All right, so that's how basically you can trade this rotation setup. As I said, and I'll probably say it many times during this webinar, take profit is the VWAP. It doesn't need to be, but in my experience, it's pretty solid place to take your profit. All right, so VWAP line, yellow line, works as a magnet, and it is a nice place to take your profits. Now, another example of this rotation setup. Let's first have a look at the first deviations, this one and this one. They are moving sideways, they are moving horizontally, which means that the market is calm and there is a rotation. So we can start looking for the rotation setup. This deviation line is a support. This one is a resistance. So whenever the price hits the resistance or the support, you can enter a trade. All right, so short from here, short from here, short from here, another touch in here, another one, another one. If the price made it, for example, in here to this place, it would be a long. All right, it is as simple as that. So that's the rotation setup. The second setup also has a very original name. It's called the trend setup because you trade it when there is a trend. What I'm going to show you is a short trade scenario, alright? So I'm going to be talking about shorts now. The first thing you want to do is identify a trend. Again, it is best to identify a trend using the first deviations. So in this case, it's actually pretty visible if you look at the candles, right? The price is just moving downwards. No way this was a rotation. But anyways, let's stick to the rules. First deviation, heading downwards. This is a strong downtrend. So we can start looking for the trend setup. And what you want to see is price moving below the first deviation, like in here. Price is moving below it, and what we are waiting for is a pullback to the first deviation. In here, the price made the pullback, touched the first deviation. What you want to do is enter a short from this place, alright, to participate in a downtrend. The price is moving downwards, and the logic behind this setup is you want to participate in a downtrend. You're looking for a place to do that. The best place is to look for a pullback and enter a short from the place where the price hit at the first deviation. Alright, that's it. It is as simple as that. Another example of the same thing. First deviation is heading downwards. So there's a trend. It's a pretty clear downtrend. The price is moving below the first deviation. That's what you want to see. And what you are waiting for is this pullback. Price makes a pullback to the first deviation. When it hits it, you go short. You go in the direction of the trend. You want to participate in the trend. Right? Pretty simple, isn't it? Now, let me very briefly go through the trend setup long trade scenario. It's basically the same, only reversed, so I'm going to go through it more quickly. First thing you want to do is identify a trend. Obviously, you want to identify an uptrend. So if you look at this picture, first deviation moving vertically, moving upwards. This tells you that the price and volumes too are shifting upwards. So you want to see the price above the first deviation, like in here, and what you're waiting for is pullback to the first deviation. When the price hits the first deviation, like in here, you enter along, you enter in the direction of the trend because you want to participate in that trend, right? So that's the trend setup. One more picture of that. So first deviation moving vertically, moving upwards. This tells you that there's an uptrend, and you want to see price moving above that, above the first deviation. It's above the first deviation for the whole time actually. So you just need to wait for the pullbacks. First pullback in here, you go long. Another one in here, another long. Now this place, the price missed the entry, no trade from there. Another touch, another one, another one. Now, in all cases, it's not that easy, that simple. This is just a nice trade scenario where there was a strong uptrend, right? Now, I'll do just a little recap of the setups. I know that they are pretty simple, but I think it's important to do as many recaps as possible. So the first setup, a rotation setup. What you want to see is a rotation, deviations moving sideways. And whenever the price hits those deviations, you want to enter a trade. So this is a support, you want to go long from there. This one is a resistance, you want to go short from there. VWAP is the magnet. VWAP is the take profit. Well, it doesn't need to be the take profit. I don't really like to set a hard rule to that, but it is a good idea to place your take profit at the VWAP. Now, trend setup. You use this one when there's a trend. In this picture, there's a downtrend because the first deviation is moving downwards. What you are waiting for is a pullback. When the price touches the VWAP, you enter a trade, you enter a short in the direction of the overall trend. All right, so that's for the setups, but that's not all. Let's go a bit more into the settings of how to set up the VWAP. Now I'm going to be talking about the calculation period. And if you look at this screen, this is a screenshot from the settings panel of my indicator, my VWAP indicator. Now in here, you can choose whether you use daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly VWAP. Now, what this means is this. The daily VWAP starts to calculate every day anew. So this is the start of a new day. The VWAP starts to calculate. Also, the deviations start to calculate. Then the day ends in here, and the calculation also stops. And as the new day begins, new calculation begins anew. So from here, new VWAP gets calculated every day. This is the daily VWAP. Now, if this was a weekly VWAP, new calculation would begin every week. If this was a monthly VWAP, new calculation would begin every month, and for yearly, new calculation would start at the start of every new year. Now, if you look in here, there's my suggestion of what settings you use. If you're an intraday trader, then what I suggest is using daily VWAP and a weekly VWAP. If you are a swing trader, then I suggest using monthly VWAP or a yearly VWAP. I personally use the yearly in here. And if you are a long-term investor, then use the yearly VWAP, right? Because, for example, the monthly or the weekly VWAP would be just too wild, too volatile for you, and those wouldn't really give you that much information. So if you're a long-term investor, you want to use the long-term yearly VWAP. Now, let me show you this on an example. This is a Workspace, which I'm using for my intraday trading. This is my intraday trading workspace. What you see here are 3 charts. All those charts are linked, so they always show the same trading instrument. So, for example, if I switch to euro-dollar on this chart, then also it will show on those two. All right, so those are linked. This one is a 60-minute chart, and in here I'm using the weekly VWAP. So every week, new VWAP and new deviations start to get calculated. All right, this was the VWAP and the deviations. This week ends, new week opens, and new VWAP and deviations get calculated. All right, so this is weekly VWAP with 60-minute chart. This is giving me the bigger picture, the overview of the market. Now, this chart in here, this is a 30-minute chart. And on this 30-minute chart, I'm using daily VWAP, more volatile VWAP. Every day new VWAP gets calculated. So in here, there is market open, VWAP gets calculated, then it stops. The next day, again, the same goes for the deviation as well, all right? So I'm actually using 2 VWAPs for intraday trading, weekly and daily. Weekly gives me the big picture, the daily gives me more detailed picture. Now, if I had to choose, if I had to use just one, it would be the weekly. I like the weekly more. It doesn't give that many signals as the daily, but it's more precise and the signals are stronger. So if you want to start with intraday trading with VWAP, I actually recommend first trying the weekly. right? So yeah, this third chart, this is a simple price action chart with daily volume profiles, so there's no VWAP in here. Now let's move on. This is a swing trading workspace, which I use. It is just one chart. It is a daily chart, and on this chart I'm using only the yearly VWAP. So as this year ended, VWAP stopped calculating, new year started in here, and new calculation of VWAP began. The same goes for the deviations, all right? Now, when this year will end, VWAP will stop calculating and new one will start, all right? So this is how I plan my swing trades using the yearly VWAP. It gives pretty strong signals, the yearly one. Now, another part which I want to show you, this is actually a pretty interesting thing because I'm not really sure that many people actually do this, but it is an important thing. So let me show you. I think it's pretty important to let the VWAP develop before you start trading with that, before you start applying those trading strategies I showed you. So the reason for you waiting for the VWAP to develop is this. The VWAP starts to calculate anew. For example, every new day, VWAP starts to get calculated, and basically it pulls data from here. It doesn't have any data history. So it starts from here and it starts to collect volume, price, and time data. And in the initial period, it doesn't have enough data, so it's sort of wild. It's still collecting data, but later it has more data, the indicator goes wider, it's more stable, and you can depend on those lines on the VWAP and on the deviations. Because this phase is just too volatile and it's not really good idea to trade in this area, all right? Because it's just collecting data there. So what I have in here for you, this is a rough setting of how I use that. So when I'm trading with the daily VWAP, what I recommend is waiting around 5 hours before you start applying those strategies I showed you. So in here, it would be somewhere in here. This would mean no trading with VWAP in this area, and then the rest of the day it would be okay to trade with a VWAP, all right? So this is the place where it's collecting data, where it's volatile, where you don't really want to trade with VWAP. Now, with a weekly VWAP, it's best to wait around 2 days. With monthly VWAP, it's 10 days. And with yearly VWAP, you want to wait first 2 months of the year before you start trading with the yearly VWAP. Now, those are just rough numbers. You don't need to follow them, like they are not set in stone, right? So this is just rough numbers which I'm using. If there's nice trading opportunity and it sort of goes against some of those, well, you can take it. It's not that crucial to follow them, but you should always have some time before you leave the VWAP calculator and then trade it. Now, the next couple of pictures is going to be just illustrations of what I was talking about now. So this is a daily VWAP. In here you want to wait 5 hours. So this is market open. Those are first 5 hours. You don't want to use VWAP trading strategies. Then the rest of the day, it's okay to trade them. The next day begins in here. Again, first 5 hours, no go. Then the rest of the day, it's okay to use the VWAP. Now, this is weekly VWAP, which means every week new VWAP gets calculated anew. So Monday, Tuesday, no trading with VWAP, not with weekly VWAP. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's okay. Next week starts in here, Again, Monday, Tuesday, no VWAP. Rest of the week, okay to use the weekly VWAP. Monthly, in here I recommend waiting first 10 days of the month. So this period, don't trade with VWAP in here. You need to wait until it collects enough data. Then the rest of the month is okay. The last one, the yearly VWAP, it starts to calculate in here, January. So January, February is best not to trade with the yearly VWAP. Let it collect enough data. Then as it starts to develop, you can start using it and you can trade with it until the end of the year in here, all right? Then again, January, February, no VWAP, the rest of the year. It's okay to trade with a VWAP. Now, this brings me to the next part. Favorite combination, VWAP plus volume profile. Now, I don't know how many of you guys know about volume profile, so I'll just do a brief introduction of the volume profile. I'll just tell you the most important things about it, all right? So this is how volume profile looks like. By the way, volume profile, one of my most favorite indicators, probably my most favorite indicator. Well, I wrote a book about it, so it should be my most favorite indicator, right? Anyways, it is a histogram which shows price at time. And basically what it says is at those places where the volume profile, where the histogram is thick, this means that heavy volumes got traded there. Heavy volumes means big trading institutions which you want to follow in your trading. So those price levels should be working as a strong support and resistance levels. All right, that's the most important thing to remember about volume profile. Heavy volume equals support or resistance. That's it. And for this webinar, it should suffice. But if you want to learn more about the volume profile, you definitely want to grab the book, which I'm going to give you. Read all about it there. All right, so let's get to the picture. In here, in this blue rectangle, there is area where heavy volumes get accumulated. In this area, the heaviest volume peak was in here. So, based on what I told you, this should work as a strong support or resistance zone. This price level. All right. So this is what the volume profile tells us. Now, let's have a look at the VWAP. This is a daily chart and this is a yearly VWAP. And let's have a look at the first deviation. Because in here, the first deviation is going downwards, which means downtrend. And when there is a downtrend, you're looking for the trend setup on VWAP. So what you want to see is the price moving below the first deviation, like in here, in this area, and you're waiting for a pullback, right? You remember? So in here, the price touches the first deviation, and it also touches the place where the volumes in here were the heaviest. It touches this blue line. So at this place, you actually got the short confirmed by two completely independent trading setups. Setup which is called volume accumulation setup, it's a volume profile setup, and the VWAP trend setup. Those two signals meet in here, and that's what I like to see. You go short from there. That's a confluence I'm usually looking for, right? Confluence like that. So this was sort of long-term scenario, but let me show you intraday trading scenario. This is a 30-minute chart, US dollar Swiss franc. What we had in here was also a heavy volume area created in this little rotation right there. As you can see, there were heavy volumes created there. From that place, buying activity started. which makes me think that in this area, strong buyers were building up their positions and then they pushed with aggressive market orders the price upwards. Now, based on that, this should be strong support. Heaviest volumes from this volume cluster area were right there. So this should work as a support. Now let me delete that and let's have a look at the VWAP. Now, this is the first deviation from the previous day. This is what caught my eye. First deviation from a previous day. The day ends in here. But what the software does is it prints a dotted line, this gray dotted line, I highlighted it in yellow in the picture, and it prints the level where the first deviation from the previous day ended. This also should work as a support. This is the rotation setup, the support from the rotation setup. So we have a VWAP setup telling you to go long from there, but in my case, I wouldn't really be into that trade if there weren't those volumes. This wouldn't be strong enough for me to enter long, but there's the confirmation, there's the volume-based confirmation. Support in here. So two signals telling me that there is a strong support. VWAP telling me to go long, volume profiles telling me to go long. So the best thing to do is actually go long, right? So that was intraday trading scenario. Now one more example. This is a 60-minute chart, US dollar, Japanese yen. And in here, as you can see right there in this rotation, massive volumes got accumulated. From this area, strong buying activity started. This indicates that in this heavy volume area, buyers were building up slowly their buying positions. Then they pushed aggressively with market orders the price upwards. So let me delete that and let's have a look at where the volumes were the heaviest in this volume cluster. In here, at this place, right? This is where the volume profile is the thickest. This is the most significant place. So based on the volume profile logic, this should work as a support. Now let's have a look at the VWAP and the deviations. Now this gray line, which I highlighted in yellow, is the first deviation. What it does is getting closer to the support. Now it hits it. And what also happens, there is a pullback. The price makes it back to this level, hits the VWAP, hits the volume-based support, and both those, the VWAP and the volume profile, tell you to go long from there. Alright, so confluence of VWAP and volume profile. That's what you want to see. That's, in my opinion, the best way to use the VWAP. Now, you can, of course, use VWAP as a standalone strategy without using anything else. But combining with volume profile or also with price action actually is how I personally prefer to use VWAP. Now the cool thing about the VWAP is also you can combine it with your own trading strategies. So if you are not using volume profile, if you are not trading using price action, if you have completely different set of rules for your trading, you can always add VWAP to that. All right? It won't hurt any strategy to have extra confirmation to it. Now guys, if you would like to get some further education on trading with a volume profile, with a VWAP or with a price action, I would like to invite you to my website, trader-dale.com. In here, a lot of articles, a lot of videos. There's a new section called Market Analysis. And in here, what I do is basically every day I write a new article. I pick some interesting market to analyze from intraday point of view, from swing trading point of view, long-term point of view, what I usually do is I use volume profile tool or VWAP tool to analyze it, to identify the strongest institutional trading levels, tell you the reasons behind those levels, stuff like that. Every day there is a new article, new commentary on a current market development. Alright, so for example, yesterday I was writing about VWAP setups, about how you can use the VWAP. So if you are interested in trading VWAP, I think maybe you could read those 2 articles. Now, if you are really interested in moving forward with your trading, what I would recommend is enrolling in the trading course. And that's a trading course which I developed, and there are actually 3 courses, 3 packs which I developed for you guys. There is the learning pack, there is a trading pack, and then there is an elite pack. The elite pack is what I actually recommend getting because it includes all from the trading pack as well as everything from the learning pack. And what I have for you is special offer for the elite pack. I would really like to give you the best I can offer. So let me just real quick go through the content of the elite pack. What it includes is the volume profile video course. It is a 15 hours course which I shot last year. It has 44 videos on trading with price action, VWAP, and volume profile. It shows you a lot of trading setups which I use, and there are also hundreds of real trade examples. So it's very in-depth and a pretty long video course. Now, what is also included in the elite pack is this Dale's trading levels. Now, what that means is my personal intraday and swing trading levels. You get access to them, you can follow them every day. And what I think is pretty cool, you can automatically get printed those levels into your chart. So you can actually follow my own trading when you see those levels in your charts. Now, what you also get with Dale's trading levels is access to the community. So you get access to the forum where you can discuss trades or get help if you need it. Also access to download section, a lot of useful stuff there. So there's the Dale's trading levels. Then this is the volume profile pack. You'll also get that. This is the volume profile indicator I developed for NinjaTrader 8. Custom-made volume profile indicators, which I use every day in my own trading analysis. And also what you get is the VWAP indicator. That's the indicator you saw in today's presentation. It's also custom-made VWAP indicator, which I developed. So you'll get that too. Now, all this is a lifetime license, and the indicators also lifetime license, and those are multiple computer indicators, so you can use them on more than one computer. All right. Now, if you do the math, if bought separately, you would pay $836 for all that, but I'm not absolutely going to charge you that for the elite pack. What I'm going to do is give you a special discount on that. Actually, it's more than 50% discount. All this for $397. So if you go to my website, there is going to be banner like this, webinar sale, and if you click it, you'll be able to get this webinar discount as a sort of thank you for being here with me today, watching the webinar until the end. Now, I'm going to limit this special offer for the first 50 people to sign up. Also, I'm going to limit it until next Friday, which is March the 27th. All right, so that's the elite pack. That's the pack I definitely recommend getting. You'll get the education, you'll get the right tools for it. So everything you need in just one pack. Now, we're getting to the end. This is the free gift I want to give you guys, is this book, Volume Profile, the Insider's Guide to Trading. As you can see here on the picture, #1 bestseller on Amazon. It seems people like this book. So if you are interested in trading with volume profile, I think you best read this one. There's a free download for you. This is the address, trader-dale.com/freebook. So if you go to this address, what you need to do is just fill in your email, and in a matter of few seconds, this book will be emailed to you to this email. All right, so this is a free gift for you guys for staying until the end of the webinar. Thank you so much. Now I see that I consumed all the time for the webinar and there was no time for the questions, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through all the questions you guys had, and I'm going to do an article answering all those questions. Now, if you have any more questions, this is my email address, contact@trader-dale.com. Send me those questions there, and I promise I answer all the emails, all the questions. Now there's one more thing I forgot. Now guys, if you want a free trial of the VWAP, send me a message to this email that you want to try out the VWAP for free. I'll give you a 5-day trial for it. All right, use this email. So I would like to thank you for having me here, for staying until the end. I hope you liked the webinar. Thanks also NinjaTrader for having me here for the 3rd time. I'm looking forward to see you in some next webinar. And until then, happy trading. Thanks so much.